The Friday, Saturday before Hurricane Katrina landed in New Orleans, we, as school leadership, we were doing a strategic plan retreat at the Solomon Center in Robert. And we were enjoying brainstorming our future and growth and all the possibilities that were out there. That Saturday morning, one of our teachers got a call saying, Hurricane Katrina had turned and was coming to New Orleans and we should leave. So everybody packed up, came back to New Orleans. I can remember coming back to school first to drop off some things and seeing a couple plants outside and thinking, I should bring those plants in. They could be flying projectiles. Still didn't think that this was something we needed to evacuate because we had never evacuated before. And, realizing, no, we really do need to evacuate. When Mayor Nagin said, no, this is the one, that's when, we packed the kids up, got in the car, and just drove. So needless to say, St. Paul's did not activate that strategic plan that we created. It changed drastically, but we're still here. So, our future was bright. We just had to get there. And it took a lot of work. For a good first 6 months, I was able to relocate to the North Shore. I worked at Christ Episcopal briefly. All the while trying to rebuild our own home, losing our home, my oldest son's high school, everybody lost everything. But also working, continuing to work daily as a teacher, and then trying to help rebuild St. Paul's. So, just calling teachers, calling real estate agents, where could we relocate if we were able to start up again in January? Meanwhile, trustees and vestry, they were meeting to discuss our future. Did we want to rebuild? And luckily, everybody said yes, who came back, who could make it back. I found the First Baptist, which was just not very far from St. Paul's, was high and dry and was actually on a ridge. And they had classroom space that they were not using. And luckily, they took us in. We were able to reopen in January of '06. We only had about a third of our student population. So we reopened with 97 children. And we had about a third of our faculty. We had trucks of parents and church members and people helping to get everything off the second floor here and bring it there. School supplies. I remember coming back for construction paper, anything that we could salvage. Because we had only been in school 1 week. So we had tons of supplies on the second floor that we could use. We managed to finish that year and actually have our 8th grade graduation back in our church. And that was a highlight for all of us. We had chairs in there, not pews. I don't even remember if we had electricity. I know we didn't have air conditioning. And we still wanted to have our graduates graduate in our church. In August of 2006, we were able to start back here at St. Paul's using what buildings we were able to repair in time. Not everything had been repaired. We had trailers, all office staff, they were in trailers. Our kids played in yards they had never really played in because we had trailers in the yards. And we started back with about maybe 100, a little over 100 children, but still quite down. It took maybe 8 years to feel that the population, school population, both student and faculty were back up to pre-Katrina numbers. And of course, if you had told any of us then it was going to take that long, everybody would have run away. We were counting on 3 years, but we did it together. Our church rebuilt, our school rebuilt. We did it together, and everyone was very invested. And you know, all of those people who could make it back felt that this was where they wanted to be, a strong connection to St. Paul's. Our flexibility, our creativity, our willing to say yes was what helped us to rebuild. You know, I was told, you know, we could have maybe 12 teachers, and trying to figure out, well, who's going to teach what? Because we still want to offer everything we can possibly offer to all the grade levels, but we don't have everybody. We have a third. You know, so the kindergarten teacher had an English degree. She also taught 7th grade English and kindergarten. You know, and when kindergarten would go to music, she would teach 7th grade English. And that was, you know, doing all of these things that were out of your comfort zone was definitely a stretch. It was scary. It was something, though, that no one said no to. Everyone was willing to be flexible, to make those things happen, to pack up everything on a Friday in your classroom and then take it all out again on a Monday. Was a lot of work, but we did it together. Just being together helped you to figure out where everybody's situation. How were they doing personally? You know, how is your house coming? Did you tear down? Were you know, rebuilding in your same spot? Did you relocate? Whatever you had, which was probably very little, you were willing to share with whoever needed it. When Hurricane Ida came, we received a lot of wind-driven rain damage, and we had to relocate for almost 6 months, 5 different locations. Pre-K and K had been at the Children's Museum. The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade had been at a bank down the street, a former bank. 4th and 5th were at the Casey Hall. We had 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the Harbor Collective Community across the street. And all nearby, but not together. But, you know, there were so many of us still here from Hurricane Katrina, and people so committed that we made it work. And once again, flexibility and creativity made this work. In many ways, we felt like we were rebuilding again, though, because the physical location had been hurt, damaged, and we needed, you know, to take care of St. Paul's physically. But the spirit was still so strong and happy to work and wanting to work when we could all be together again. And so when we were able to rejoin all of the classes back to St. Paul's, it was very joyful.